Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew Nugent. I'm the host for today's Commander's Call. We have a lot of people coming in, about 50 already. Thank you all for being a little bit early. I am from the West Point class of 1996. We got a lot of folks here. This is a non-profit organization. We have people from both parties. So we're going to focus on what joins us all, which is a strong national defense in the context of West Point, the other service academies, and our services. So to start, before I hand it off to our president, we are going to do the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you're able to, stand with us and I will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. With that, I give the floor now to the president of the MacArthur Society, Major General retired Paul Vallely, West Point class of 1961. Sir, you have the floor.
Well, thank you, Matt, and thank you for being the moderator today. Welcome, everybody. It's just a pleasure to see our society growing each and every day as we transition into what I call the third phase of the MacArthur Society. But, I look back to what motivated us, and certainly it was STARS that was founded by our guest speaker today, General Bishop. And also joining us from STARS, Ron Short, Mike Rose, I think, may be here, Sam Thiessen, and I think did I say Mike Rose, Ron? Also. But STARS initiated all this, and it wasn't that the academies weren't doing good things, as Rod knows, but the cancer had come into the academies, wokeness, CRT, DEI, and so on. So we felt that the graduates needed to stand up a little bit more and have some voice in the future of the academy. So with that, I want to introduce General Bishop. He's commanded airmen at all levels. He served his country for 34 years and is still doing it. A great aviator, a war fighter, but certainly taking the initiative to restore what was happening at the Air Force Academy. And that was the focus then. And a lot of this started after CRT, DEI, COVID, and all of that when we started getting more involved with the academies rather than just sitting back as grads. So we're proud that we have Rod today, and you've seen Rod's bio on the announcement, so I won't go into that. But Rod, I think, take as much time as you can today, and then we'll go into a Q&A, and then after that, as Matt has mentioned, we'll have an agenda for a period of time to report to our supporters. So with that, I'll turn it over to General Bishop. Thank you.
Hey, thanks very much for that intro there, General Paul. For all of those who are here, General Paul and others, we're talking kind of in the green room, I guess, that this is kind of a practice for me because I have a podcast this afternoon, but there's no other group that I'd rather speak to. And since a lot of us are Academy grads, I thought, in writing down what to talk about, I kind of put down, what we were taught at the Academy and Squadron Officer School or the Army or Navy equivalent is, what's your three major points? So my three major points is, hey, how did we all get here? Because I think the background might be a little bit interesting for some of you who may be new. And then what can we, the collective we, going forward, do together? And then I'm going to close out with, kind of a personal challenge, I think, for all of us. Hopefully some of you saw Erica Kirk's speech last night at the University of Mississippi. I was once again just blown away by it. So how did we all get here? First of all, I think I would give some credit initially to both General Tom McInerney and General Paul Vallely. I mean, we all saw him on TV through the years, and that kind of perked my interest a little bit. But personally, for me, my story and my engagement began 6 years ago last month, September of 2019, which was until September of this year, the last time I had played golf. and my score has gone down poorly. I think I had an 89 that day, and I had an 89 and this past September, August, September. But Ron Scott and I were playing golf, and everybody knows Ron. I mean, golly, he's a walking encyclopedia. You know, between holes, he's telling me this, he's telling me that. You know, he can quote books and off the top of his head, and I'm going, Ron, yeah, you know, I'm kind of getting this a little bit, but you know, I think your politics, if you don't mind me saying, are right of the till of the Hun. And but what really happened after that, I think, you know, fast forward several months, and in the summer of love, 2020, after George Floyd's unfortunate death, you know, Ron had a blog, and he alerted me to a video that the football coaches had put together. So I think, Ron, you're controlling that. Some of you have seen it. It only takes 3 minutes, but I want to talk about that and what happened after. So, Ron, if you'd run that film.
I also think that it might, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
We are the Bolt Brotherhood. One team,
one family.
We are a diverse team.
As Falcons in our team huddle, the goal is to score.
But we will serve to reach beyond the playing field.
to build communities and our country.
To support all backgrounds, black, brown, and white.
To pursue greater opportunities.
When it comes to education, justice, healthcare, and peace.
So we may all win in life.
Our mission extends beyond winning.
Our mission is to stand against racism.
To promote diversity and inclusion.
Our mission is to demonstrate
and fight for respect and human dignity.
We aim to tell our country and the world that Black Lives Matter.
And to cure the disease of discrimination
and racism in our country.
Black lives have not been
and are not treated as equal in our society.
Racial profiling,
Jim Crow,
mass incarceration,
redlining,
police brutality.
From the Bolt Brotherhood,
enough is enough.
This is not a political choice of Marxism or capitalism.
This is the basic regard and respect for human life and dignity.
This is why Black Lives Matter.
If the intent of our country is justice and liberty for all,
we must first acknowledge that Black Lives Matter.
We must stand in unity for racism to end.
We stand in unity to be part of the solution.
It's not enough for us to be not racist.
It's time to be anti-racist.
It's time to be anti-racist.
It's time to be anti-racist.
It's time for me to recognize my bias.
It's time to use
my voice,
my talent,
my platform.
To stand against unjust police brutality
and institutional discrimination.
Take action, take responsibility, and take a stance.
Listen to understand.
Listen with an open heart.
Listen to our experiences.
And empathize with the pain that racism causes so many.
Educate yourself on the role that race plays in our history.
We will fight for fair treatment.
Justice and equality of Black Americans.
Brown Americans and all Americans.
This goes beyond the football field.
Because Black Lives Matter.
Because Black Lives Matter.
Because Black Lives Matter.
It's time to open our eyes.
It's time to open our eyes.
And to fight and serve for justice.
It's time to make our country and our world a better place.
It's bigger than football.
It's bigger than football.
It's bigger than football.
There's no neutral nor in between when it comes to racism.
You have to take a stance.
Because the Bolt Brotherhood believes Black Lives Matter.
The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories.
Okay, so I saw Ron's blog and went to the Gazette Telegraph, and the front page was Air Force football takes firm stance in support of Black Lives Matter. What many people on the film don't know is the superintendent at the time, in a way, I think kind of owed his first star to me. He was a colonel. He commanded my 1,000+ person Air Operations Center. And when the commander before me had left, he said, "You got to make sure you watch out for Tonto," is his call sign. And I said, "Okay." And so I had one open general officer making slot. It was an exec to the Supreme Allied Commander of Europe at the time. And I put Tonto in that position, and he progressed well, did well, made third star. But when I saw that video, I call him up and I say to him, "Jay, Tonto, do you know what's behind Black Lives Matter? Do you know what's going on there? Do you know they're trained Marxists? Do you know they stand for the overthrow of capitalism? Do you know they're against the Western nuclear family?" And his comment was, "General Bishop, you don't understand." I said, "I do understand, Jay. And what this is going to cause is the most divisive action that I've ever seen." And sure enough, I mean, before long, I think we were at the beginning of STARS, we were having 65 people on Zooms just discussing it. Retired a 4-star classmate of mine called me up and he said if he was still on active duty, he would have fired the superintendent and all the football coaches. It was just unbelievable to me that, with good intention, that people could be so misled. And that's because they really weren't read into what was happening. We made so much noise that the Air Force brought in a retired 4-star to try to serve as a mediator. I think probably all 65 people inundated him with articles and on critical race theory and Black Lives Matter. And at the end of 2 weeks, he was no longer a mediator. He says, "I get it. They've taken a page out of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals and bamboozled half of America." And I said, "Spot on, General. You got it." So that was kind of an impetus, but what really drove me to, wow, what in the world is happening, was just a couple of months later, during the height of the COVID pandemic, Ron and his wife, Mary, were at a timeshare they have up in Breckenridge, and my wife and I invited them over for some wine on our deck. And so we're outside, socially distanced, and we went through the first bottle pretty quickly, so I get out the second bottle, and that was enough for Ron to say, "Father Bishop, I have a confession to make." And I said, "What are you talking about?" He says, "I have a copy of Hunter Biden's laptop." And I said, "Well, I know who Hunter Biden is. He's the president of the son of the president of the United States. But why do you have a copy of his laptop?" So he tells me that his nephew was the computer repairman that Hunter turned the laptop into. And, there was talk in August of 19 of impeaching the president of the United States for what they thought, because Hunter never came and picked up the laptop. So Ron's nephew had, gone through it, tried to fix it, and saw this exculpatory information. So I said, "Ron, tell me more of that story there." And he said, "Well, my nephew and his dad tried to turn it into the FBI in August of 2019. And the FBI said, 'Lawyer up, we don't want it.' They eventually came and took it in a subpoena, I believe in December of that year, and sat on that information during the impeachment trial of the president of the United States." I go, "Holy crap, what is happening?" So I'm asking Ron, "Why haven't you gotten this out to the media if you've had it?" And he goes, "Well, I've tried. Hannity, Tucker, Bill O'Reilly, Cheryl Atkinson." Cheryl Atkinson. Some of you may remember her name. She used to work for 60 Minutes, was fired for 60 Minutes, due in part because she was a reporter on a flight that I was the mission commander for, in which we flew Hillary and Chelsea into Bosnia during Chelsea's spring break, where you probably remember during the campaign, Hillary said, "Yeah, we were fired upon." And when I saw that, I thought, I would have thought I would have known when we were fired on, since I was the mission commander on that mission. But anyway, hard to get the truth out there. Ron and I said, "If you need any help, let me know." My next door neighbor is a former Fox News reporter, he might be able to help. We had a Zoom with the CEO of Clarity Media that owns the Washington Examiner and both Colorado Gazettes. Loved the story. The lawyers wouldn't take it. So about a month later, Ron and Ron's nephew and my next door neighbor and executive at Fox and the New York Post get on the phone together, and the New York Post sent somebody down to Delaware to interview J.P. McIsaac, Ron's nephew, and at least the story was out there in the public media, but squashed by everybody else, including 51 intelligence officers, which really kind of disturbed me because I know some of them. And all they had to do before they signed their name to that letter that became an issue during the one debate was what I asked Ron for. I said, Ron, not that I don't trust you, but just send me one or two things off of that laptop, which he did. And I used to be kind of a counterintelligence guy for the Air Force. And, you might be able to fake a letter from the vice president of Burisma to Hunter thanking him for all that their dad's doing for him. But you can't fake text between a father and a daughter. And that was on there. I go, man, our country is in a whirlwind going downhill. So I'm frustrated that I couldn't get the news broke to other media outlets. I wrote a Facebook post, got 865 shares, was taken over to Twitter, went viral on Twitter. And my son texts my wife saying, hey, why is Dad going viral on Twitter? Todd Wood was one of the people that picked it up first time I met him. And I go, the very next day, I had 0 Facebook shares, 0. So we know Zuckerberg has owned up to what Facebook did, and we know the government involvement there. But I was just shaking my head on that. But along this time, Mike Rose came up with the idea of, back to the Black Lives Matter video, why don't we put together an IG complaint? And it was perfectly well written, extremely well documented with all the DODIs and Air Force instructions that Black Lives Matter video was breaking. I mean, Ron educated us how, 80-something billion dollars that Black Lives Matter was taking in. A lot of it was going to Act Blue, which supports only one political party. 3 days after President Biden took office or was elected that year in November of 2020, we got a one-line response that said your IG complaint is dismissed. It's also about the same time we met Matt Lohmeyer, who was just starting to write his book. My next door neighbor wrote an article because when we got that one-liner back from the IG, we go, okay, we've been trying to keep this inside the Air Force family, not make it public, because we didn't want people to walk away from our association of graduates in particular, which a lot of them were doing. So the IG complaint was dismissed. I'm sitting there in the living room, and I said to my wife, I got an idea. Let's engage with the Board of Visitors and start spinning them up. So my wife's an internet sleuth. She found me names and numbers of people, and Mike and I called up a number of them. And Mike spent a whole day with Heidi Stirrup. And of course, I think most of you who followed what happened there, as soon as President Biden took office, they were all suspended. And shortly thereafter, all the Trump appointees were fired. In response related to that, oh, by the way, Mike has written legislation. And I don't know if Jeannie Ives is on here, but when Jeannie and Bill and Airborne Ranger and myself and Mike were with Senator Sheehy in February, we told him about the legislation, and Sheehy looks at us and says, well, we're not going to pass this legislation, which takes the politics out of it until President Trump gets to do the same thing, which, as we know, we did. So, kind of a funny side story. But then we came across, we engaged with the new superintendent. I had engaged with him and sent him 17 articles on critical race theory and Black Lives Matter before he ever got in the seat. The day he took command, or as the superintendent, he said, I agree. He wrote an email, I agree with the message of the Black Lives Matter video. So you just kind of, ugh. And so we, went behind the scenes with some retired 4-stars and said, hey, would you weigh in on our behalf? A number of other reasons, but he had a Zoom with us. And at the Zoom, he finally agreed to take down that video. But simultaneously, we're seeing Air Force Academy sets up diversity inclusion reading room, and we had some cadets go by and take pictures of all the pro-transgender books and things of that nature. Shortly thereafter, the Academy buys George Takei's book for all incoming freshmen. One incoming freshman had read Matt's book, and Matt put him in contact with us and has become a good friend. I taught him how to ski this year. He called me from pilot training the other day just to express his dismay that from what he had read in the paper, and we'll get to this in a second, that the Air Force Association of Graduates wasn't going to take any action in honoring Charlie Kirk. And then there was the purple ropes for all the DEI officers, and example after example. And so we said, okay, we got to do something serious. And in April of 2020, we incorporated STARS with one R, Stand Together Against Racism in the Services, if I remember correctly. And as we were standing up that organization, excuse me, I said to, I knew Sam by this time and said, we need to get board members on this from other service academies. I called up Tom Burbage. Tom gave us Bruce Davey. We have Sam, of course, and Chris Petty from West Point. And through the years, when I say STARS, and Sam told me the same thing this morning, I just think of us all as one. MacArthur Society has a little bit more focus on West Point, great. Calvert Task Group has more of a focus on the Naval Academy, great. But we're all in this fight together, I think we know. So accomplishments, what have we done? We've really accomplished a lot when you look back on it. When I say STARS here again, I mean it's the collective we, all of us. Dan Clark, who's one of the most inspirational speakers in the world, according to his bio and what people have said about him, is on the Academy Board of Visitors. He called us one of the most powerful organizations in Washington, D.C. I think when Brent was more actively working with us, now he's spread himself across other organizations, which of course we love. He was keeping track of all this, but I'm sure the collective we have done more than 500 media events, podcasts, TV shows, radio shows, articles. I mean, Brent alone has written over 100 articles. J.M. Phelps wrote over 100 just on the vaccine mandate. I know I have at least 100 emails on my server here between now the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, and myself. Because I know one day I sent him 11 emails and he wrote back, he says, Gerald, I'm reading all of them. I just can't respond to them all. And I said, good, good, good. And one of the ones I had sent him that day was an email that I had sent to General Clark, where General Clark was saying, diversity is our greatest strength. And I went back to him and said, Rich, diversity isn't our greatest strength. Unity is our greatest strength. Made all the more great because we're a diverse nation. And I think Pete liked that one. I don't know if you had heard it before then, but he uses it a lot now. So I'm glad of that. Certainly, all of us played a big role in getting the vaccine mandate overturned. The very first call to Congress I made on that, and I won't go into the detail on how we wrestled with strapping that one on, but we debated it internally for over 2 months because, hey, you're all in the military, roll up your sleeve, bend over, whatever. But when we finally made the decision, it was based on, at least in my mind, that here, according to Lou Michaels, here we go again. We're breaking the law of our land. Emergency use authorized only products and the laws on the books for Religious Freedom Restoration Act. In January of 22, I remember talking with Senator Cotton's Mill Assist, and he said to me, General, I appreciate your passion on this, but this isn't going anywhere. It has no legs on the hill. And I said, why not? And he said, because even the Republicans, think you're in the military, you got to do what you need to do to protect the force. And I said, yeah, but we're breaking the law. In November of that year, that same guy called me back and said, I don't know how you guys did it, but the NDAA is going to have that overturn that you guys have been working for. We all know 8,000, 8,400 were kicked out. In a conversation a number of us had about 2 weeks ago with the Air Force Major JAG, who was faced with take the vaccine, resign, or be court-martialed. She told us the number is closer to 95,000 that actually left the services because of that. I mean, that's a huge, huge rift, shall we say. She also said that before she left, she talked to the 3-star TJAG of the Air Force and said, "You know, sir, we're breaking the law." And he said, "I know, but the White House has spoken." I mean, imagine that. Just let that sink in for a minute. And certainly, I think we can all say, yeah, we've had some positive influence on in the DEI battle. I mean, all those media events that we did. We have a new president that is focusing on merit, and certainly a Secretary of War that is doing so as well. There's still work to do. In the DEI world, we've got it eliminated for now. But is it really eradicated? No, not on your life. And certainly in the vaccine arena, yeah, we got the mandate overturned. I got a letter this week from Air Force lieutenant who led 600 pilots that we saved that were all ready to punch if they were forced to get the vaccine. 600 pilots. The Air Force was already 2,000 short. But we still have some work to do in the remedies area. We'll get to that in a second. I think all three groups in my conversations, with Sam and certainly with Tom Burbidge from the Calvert, we've focused on our academies in three major areas. The Association of Graduates, I think some of you know, at least at the Air Force Academy, we put together a slate of 5 officers that ran for 5 open slots, and there were 16 candidates running. Chances of all 5 of us getting elected randomly is 1 in 4,368. So, I think the support is out there, though. And the Board of Visitors, boy, I just can't be more happy that that thought I had in December of 2020 about engaging more with the Board of Visitors. I know you guys are making progress. We've got the right people at West Point. You're making progress. I haven't heard much on the Naval Academy. Air Force, we met with 3 BOV members multiple times, and the Vice Chair, Stoley, is practically, Vice President of STARS as well. We're so engaged in communicating with him. And, I look back on the Board of Visitors meeting that I attended. One of the guys we interfaced with was Charlie Kirk. We had an hour-long Zoom with him, thanks to Jeannie and her introduction, and just can't be happier on how that's going. In the superintendent world, that's the third one that we've kind of focused on. I think we've made pretty good progress here at the Air Force Academy anyway. The SUP has actually called me 2 or 3 times for things. I wouldn't say we're friends, but we respect one another and we have a dialogue. I'm straight up in front with them. There was one case that Mike and I got involved with helping a cadet that extended from October of 2023 until April of 2025, over an $11 lanyard. And, I told them the time it's taking to adjudicate cases, just military justice cases, is insane. So, we're at that level where we can be honest with one another, and hopefully that's going elsewhere. So where do we go from here? If you might remember, those of you who were on the STARS Board of Directors meeting, I believe last September, I asked Lonnie, and is Lonnie on here? I don't know, I haven't seen. I asked Lonnie if she would look out into the future and, depending on who won the elections, House, Senate, President, what we should do. And what we came up with, if we won the trifecta, which, again, speaking here from the conservative side and anti-DEI, because I'd like to think all Americans, if they understood what we're trying to fight here, would be on our side. But she said, really, she had recommended our mission be one of keeping watch. So we came up with this Operation Sentinel idea. And Ron, if you'd show everybody that slide, please. Okay, so this was, my attempt just to bring everything into focus that we're all working on. The MacArthur Society took an outstanding lead in the Duty Honor Country Commission. Great work there by Jim Bowden and folks. And we've been full-throated supporters of that. But beyond the next one over, Operation Warrior Ethos, one of the things Lonnie did in her research as well is said, the people that, and she has told me on the phone a number of times, I didn't like the direction. She taught at the National War College for 20 years. And she said it was becoming the National Peace College. And so the idea there is to hopefully influence OSW and the J staff, because J7 really has a lot of responsibility here, that we need to extend the duty honor country into, Joe gave us a great brief this past week at the STAR staff meeting, Joe Arbuckle, on what do we replace DEI with? And, it's a lot more of focus on our Constitution or vision of our founding fathers, et cetera. And I think there's the expertise that exists within our organizations to participate in doing some of that. Then Operation Rescue and Restore. I mean, this one just kind of has evolved due to Mike Rose's penchant for just saving one more. And right now it's, he's got, last time, he can talk later, but last time I knew he had over 180 cases. And they fall into two categories: people whose career have been hurt by either the vaccine mandate or DEI. And we're trying to save them one by one, which isn't preferred. And so that's another area for discussion we have if and when we get to meet with Undersecretary Tata and others, which was supposed to happen this week, but given the government shutdown isn't. And then the last one, Operation Right the Wrongs. That one I think is about ready to happen. But Sean O'Keefe, who is Secretary Tata's deputy and somebody who used to be the chief Republican senator for the Senate Armed Service Committee, and I would say are friends. And he's the guy that asked us to come to D.C. And talk and push General Tata over the head on over the brink, so to speak, on some of the initiatives that are buried in Operation Right the Wrongs, like standing up a task force to look at how in the world did what happen, and how do we keep it from happening again? Because it's 2 times in 20 years, we've essentially used the military population as guinea pigs. So that's kind of, what I think the collective we can do going forward. And then Ron, if you give me the next slide, and then I'll close it out here with what we can do on a personal note. So this is one slide that, should we ever get to see General or Secretary Tata, former Brigadier General retired Tata, this is one of the things that we'd like to share with him. We've got, just under the one I just briefed, kind of the vaccine mandate covered. This is one on, this goes to Matt Lohmeyer, our Undersecretary of the Air Force, comment, for those of you who have seen it, to then candidate Trump at Fort, now back to Bragg, it was Liberty then, if I remember correctly, from October of last year, in which he asked now President, if elected, would you set up a task force, an office, or a person to make sure this monster never raises its head again? So when I wrap my brain cells around that, this is what I come up with is, hey, the collective we have done a great job of education with Mick's help and others' help. We got the right words, the emails, et cetera. We got the right words written in the executive orders and the follow-on memorandums from the Secretary of War now. We've got it eliminated, but it's a long way from being eradicated. So, here's some of the specifics that we have going forward. So again, that's the collective we, but like those of you who saw Erica Kirk's talk last night before the University of Mississippi, I just want to close out on what can each one of us do on a personal level. And I think we all can do more. And by that I mean, and I'm going to just share some quotes from Erica's speech last night. But here, those of us who ran for the Association of Graduate Board of Directors, our platform was more transparency and give grads a voice. Boy, have we given grads a voice. A number of grads encountered or confronted me with, hey, what do you think of this idea for Charlie? What do you think of this idea for Charlie? So I socialized them with literally tens and asked, well, what are the people of tens of graduates, tens of cadets? What do you think the rest of the people in your unit are out there? And 3 of them got strong support. Number 1 was make Charlie an honorary graduate. I mean, all great reasons. Number 2 was give Charlie an honorary degree. and I say this in kind of kiddingly to my West Point friends. I mean, you guys turned him down. Well, yeah, I think you should have a degree from one of the academies anyway. And then number three, find an award, some kind of award. I mean, we have a sitting Board of Visitors member who is assassinated, essentially in the line of duty, assassinated while encouraging others to do what our founding fathers envisioned for our great nation, have a robust debate and a discussion of ideas. So again, thanks to Mike Rose, the Articles of Incorporation were changed this past year, voted on by over 76% of the graduates, and they now say the fostering of fellowship, communication, and camaraderie among graduates, and the promotion of merit and professional dialogue among its members. So I said, thinking to myself, what a great opportunity, because personally I felt like the AOG, and one of the reasons STARS was created, just kind of brushed the DEI thing aside. In fact, some would say they supported it. There's a December article in our quarterly magazine that was 6 pages long on warfighter preparation, in which they mentioned DEI 18 times. So, and my engagement, Ron's engagement, Mike's engagement going nowhere. No, we can't get political. Can't get political on this. Okay, well, you just did get political by not realizing this is Marxist-based and meant to divide us, which it's doing. So I decided to, present 3 motions to the board, but I don't think any of us were anticipated. Any of us anticipated, though, was there's a number of elements in our society, affinity groups, and others that activated. And Ron, Mookie, and myself, and a couple other people having lunch on Wednesday, and all of a sudden our cell phones start lighting up with hate email, one after another. And so, whoa, okay. I didn't sleep much that night, thinking, okay, I got a broader goal here than just finding an honor for Charlie Kirk. My goal is, how do we bring the board closer together? Because it's pretty much divided along ideological lines, I think. And then how do we bring the graduate community together? And I go back to those Articles of Incorporation I just read, is that we have to foster that professional dialogue. So how do we do that? That's what we all can do every day. And I would say, have an elevator speech. And here's another thing from Lonnie. Most people are sheep. Nice, useful, giving us wool and milk, but want to be left alone to graze on their patch of grass. Sheep won't fight for anything, not even to protect their young. Wolves are predators, cold killers. The sheepdogs, though, descended from the wolves, are fully committed, disciplined, and trained to protect the flock, and even lay down their lives to protect the sheep. Thank God for the sheepdogs, for without them, the world would be overrun by wolves. So I guess that's my plea to all of us, is to become more like sheepdogs, like Lonnie's encouraging us to do. Or, as Erica said last night, I mean, golly, stand for freedom or fall for everything. On Charlie's bedroom wall, they will be known by the boldness of their faith. You can't call out corruption if you're still chained to comfort. If you stand for the truth, you cannot kneel before the Lord. This one, either you sit on the sidelines, don't know what else can wake us up. I really don't know what else can do that within you to get involved, to use your voice to make a difference. And, I just want to compliment my partner in crime, the guy that got me into this a long time ago. That's Ron Scott. Two examples to show you what we're up against. At the board meeting a week ago, 2 weeks ago tomorrow, part of the platform again was to give grads a voice. And so we've got a 30-minute segment up front now at the board meetings where grads can come in and say their piece. 2 or 3 people came in and just derided Charlie Kirk. And one, in a big moment of drama, takes off his academy ring, marches across the floor, bangs it on the table in front of the board chair and says, Madam Chair, you can keep this ring unless this board does the right thing. Without any prompting, whatever, Ron Scott got up and gave the opposing view. He found his voice. Then a week ago tomorrow at an Association of Graduate luncheon before 50 or 60 people, I kind of forced myself onto the agenda because, any more board business? No hands are raised. Well, let's get, well, wait a minute. This isn't board business, but, a lot of people have asked me what's happening with the AOG board. I'd be happy to share with that. Oh, yeah. So I get up. Ron Scott follows me. But then a graduate says, I came here for fellowship and you guys are politicizing this and, basically up yours, turns around and stomps out. 50 or 60 other people who are there, I know most of them gravitate to what Ron and I said, but not one of them got up. So as Erica told us yesterday, find your voice, earn your voice, have your elevator speech ready. Thanks, General Paul. That's it from me.
Thank you.
Thank you, General Bishop. Folks, I could listen to General Bishop and Colonel Ron Scott speak for hours. To echo what General Vallely said, you're the predecessor to the MacArthur Society, and you have set the path long before, a couple years before the MacArthur Society came about. And we are honored to stand with you shoulder to shoulder in the fight. So as we go to questions, General Bishop, I want to present to you a small token of appreciation on behalf of the MacArthur Society. It's a MacArthur Society coin. I'll be sending this to you. Okay, so wherever you keep your many coins, I'm sure you have many. This is us clasping hands with you across the skies for Air Force folks, saying we respect you, we honor you, and we salute you. So that'll be coming to your house very soon. So for those who have questions, we already have some questions coming in. Please send your questions to the moderator, whose moniker is MacArthur Society. Okay. So we've already got one great question here from General Chris Walker, call sign Mookie. Sir, great to see you. Sorry I didn't get you at the beginning here. It says here, many Service Academy compatriots have brought a worrying trend to my attention. There are many Service Academy, quote, affinity groups, unquote, based on immutable characteristics on Facebook, Reddit, etc. It seems they are organizing to create pressure on the Service Academy associations of graduates with write-in campaigns and emails to create the impression of a loud voice that supports DEI and other leftist ideals. What can be done to balance that out? Can all the AOGs ensure that there is a way that all graduates can make their voices heard? Rod?
Yeah, thanks, Matthew. And Mookie, thanks for that question. First of all, prayers to your mom. I know you brought her home there, and pray that this time together with her is restful for you and her. One of the things that we can do is I've wrote an email, took most of yesterday to write it. Mike Rose chopped on it this morning for me that I'm going to send to the board chair. And one of the things I'm going to say in that email is we got wind that our board chair was briefing one of those affinity groups that was activated to stand up against Charlie. One of my comments to her is going to be to point out what's in our articles of incorporation. And that is, to foster that fellowship, that dialogue, which we haven't had. In fact, I don't want to throw anybody under the bus, but I was put under a lot of pressure at that board meeting when I was asked to move the motions up. I was asked to withdraw them by the board chair, the CEO, and 2 other board members. And I could withdraw the first 2 because honorary grad was 80%. Given Charlie an honorary degree, that's already on Matt Lohmeyer's place. If the Air Force wants to do that, they can do that. But giving Charlie some award, I said I can't withdraw that because I'd be disenfranchising what I think is a majority of graduates. So, let's join hands there, Mookie, and put some pressure on the board chair. Instead of talking to one affinity group or another affinity group, talk to the biggest and the best affinity group, and that's the Association of Graduates. Talk to us all. let's have that dialogue.
Thank you, General Bishop. So I've been fortunate enough to be in contact with you and Colonel Scott, and when we're working on the Duty Honor Country Commission. And about a year ago, Colonel Scott brought up that many of the the documents, the regulations have removed important words. For example, value is prominent, but the word virtue has been removed. Of course, you know, values, the concept of values is subjective and corruptible, but virtues are good and eternal. Now, when duty, honor, country was removed from the West Point mission statement, the superintendent said that of the many reasons why they made the change, one is he was directed by two particular shareholders, whom he didn't name, by the way, stakeholders, two stakeholders, whom he never named, and at least that I haven't heard for a year or so, since the year and a half, and to align with the Army values. Now, we know that Marxism works in years and in decades. Can you comment on values and virtue in the context of Republican liberties of virtue and the tyranny of Marxism and values? If you could, please, sir.
Matthew, that's a deep question, one that Ron Scott should probably answer. The way I look at it is, when people say, hey, I was called a right-wing extremist by the board chair, husband, spouse. I was called a Trump extremist. I was called a racist. The way I answered him was, hey, let me buy you a beer. And the answer was, no, not until you resign. You need to resign right now. You need to resign right now. Did you hear me? You need to resign right now. Okay, I guess I can't have a conversation with you, which is one of the challenges. But at least the way I internalize it, I don't think that deeply. Ron thinks that deeply. I internalize that by saying, I align myself with the vision of our founding fathers. And, what they wanted was, they did a lot of studying, from the Bible through the Greek city-states, et cetera. And I think they came up with a pretty darn good system. This is the best that's out there, but it's being corrupted from within. So I stand with the vision for freedom of speech, and let's have a robust debate. As Mark Levin says in his book, American Marxism, we're going to win this war pub to pub, school to school, person to person, just like we won the Revolutionary War. That's why I closed out my comments the way I did.
Thank you, General Bishop. We've got another interesting question from Jeff Marshall, youth mate class of 81. Research indicates that deep diversity, that's cognitive diversity, has a positive effect on organizations, but surface diversity does not. Are we exploring deep diversity, sir?
Yeah, I think, unfortunately, most of the conversation has been on that surface diversity. Diversity sounds good. I don't know if any of you follow Barry Weiss. I really like what she had to say. She is a self-proclaimed progressive liberal who left the New York Times because she said they were just getting too biased. And she started the Free Press, and now she's head of news for CBS. So we were making some inroads there. But what she says, is this whole fight of diversity, equity, inclusion. It isn't anything about those three nice sounding words. They're packaged that way to make them sound nice. Ron Scott's the one that taught me about Aesopian language. I had never heard of that term before that. That's missing. And that's the stuff I think, that we want to carry forward to the Secretary of War and what the Duty Honor Country Commission would. We need more of that in our curriculum, so people understand that they're being bamboozled and they're taking pages out of Saul Alinsky's Rules for Radicals.
There you
go. General Bishop, I hear you saying there's a wholesale absence of training on how our enemy fights. We're difficult to beat in kinetic warfare, but we're very vulnerable in non-kinetic warfare, also known as ideological warfare, what have you, which brings us to our next question by John Greenhouse, particularly after trumps executive orders, which there are many and they're good. How strongly do you assess support for DEI among the civilian faculty at the Air Force Academy?
Those of you probably don't know this. Most of you don't know. Some of you may. The week after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, he was going to make a trip to the Air Force Academy. I mean, what board of visitors members do that? And he was going to interface with cadets because the day before the board of visitors meeting, he had interfaced with a lot of cadets, and they were telling him all the places where DEI still existed. So Dan Clark and Charlie Kirk were going to come, and they were going to interview personally all these professors. So I think it's still there. I mean, we all know it's still there within some of the professors. You don't, turn around an ideology overnight. But I think, what concerns me as much is my wife and I retired here to Colorado Springs to stay engaged with my alma mater and to sponsor cadets. And we're somewhere in the 20s. I've taught 24 cadets, I think, how to ski. I'm a better skier than golfer. And so, I ask every single one, so what percentage of the cadet wing do you think misses DEI now or still wishes that it was around? And I get the same answer every time, 20 to 30%. So that's the challenge we face.
Yeah. General Bishop, you mentioned that you can't change an ideology overnight. In fact, I remember back when I graduated, 1996. I'm much younger than many people here, and which they often remind me. And I remember traces of the Marxist strategy, seeping in, something that seems benign, like consideration for others, but it was the predicate to dignity and respect for the LGBTQ plus Marxists. So we are very vulnerable. So you mentioned in your Operation Sentinel, so many arms of this approach. Let's see here. Someone asked if prayers are being sent to you, General Bishop, for your up and coming procedure. So we're praying for you. Let's see here. From Colonel Retired Sam Thiessen, USMA class of 73. Can you tell us a little about the STARS presentation, The Threat to the American Creed? Oh, this is great.
Yeah. Joe Arbuckle and I were conversing about that this morning. So it's a great initiative, but two challenges, and I'm going to kick this one to either Joe or Ron, because this is their baby along with Cindy and Mike's, and they're the ones that are giving it, and I love it. But some of the challenges, this goes to a question I was hoped I'd being asked, Matthew, would be, what are the big challenges we face? Is look at us here. I mean, although you introduced this as both sides of the aisle, great, but predominantly we're in an echo chamber. The STARS meeting is an echo chamber. The American Creed presentation, we're being invited to give it by conservative groups and churches. So we're in an echo chamber. So one of the challenges we have is how do we break out of that echo chamber? That is why, despite some of my fellow board members saying you're making too big of a deal of this Charlie Kirk thing, I go, no, I'm forcing this upon the graduate community. I'm getting this out of the echo chamber. And then the other big issue we have, or challenge we have, is some people don't want to listen. And no matter how hard you try, they're just gonna, throw the ring on the table and walk out of the room. But your question, could I ask either Joe or Ron to address that?
Yeah, sure, I'll jump in, and I'm sure Ron's got some ideas, Rod. Yeah, we are talking to an echo chamber, that's for sure, because that's where we have access with our mission and our message. But on the other hand, at the same time, that has great value because even the people that we're talking to and presenting this briefing to don't realize what's going on. They're not informed, even though they listen perhaps to conservative media. They really don't know what's going on about DEI and the depths of that in our society. So that has great value. That's my point on that, even though it is an echo chamber. Now, how do we break out of that? That is a tough nut. And I think we do it gradually. We can reach out beyond the groups that you've been talking about, which have been primarily religious organizations, and try to get into places like veterans organizations, the American Legion, Veterans of Foreign Wars, and so forth. And that even that has been tough, as you know, as we try to reach out to some of those groups because they see us as being political and they don't want to touch it. But we need to keep working that avenue is as a short answer to your question.
If I could add on to what the general said, TPUSA I think is a great opportunity. With our connection to Charlie Kirk, if we can convince Erica and her team that STARS is a good partner in this effort, that's an entry point. We do have a 31-year-old Air Force Academy grad that is expressing interest in working our social media for STARS. We're hoping that she can attract others within her peer group. And yesterday we had a Zoom call with another organization that the coalition coordinator is 26 years old, and the person working social media is like 31. We're doing a little vetting right now to see if this is a group we want to partner with. But this may be some entry points for reaching younger audiences. And the last thing I will say is that Ma'am Danny in New York, his voting coalition are recent college graduates. So one of the challenges we have is educating people on the indoctrination that's taking place within our universities. And we saw it even with our service academies. So we've got opportunities out there. It's just a matter of working them.
Yeah. Ron, we're also working on the Charlie Kirk initiative at West Point now. So we're trying to come up with a plan how we can get that into the academy for some approval of that chapter there.
But that's great to hear, General Paul. I just, when you looked at 10,000 people last night at University of Mississippi, tens of thousands across. Yeah, if we can't get our own service academies, but here, I want to bring this home to everybody. I don't know, can you see that? Look on left side.
Air Force Academy Board withdrews vote on. Wow, that is to see that.
See that, and on the other side, it's Trump calls for probe into Academy Chapel. So what is so ironic about that is the Air Force Academy Board withdraws vote to Arnold Charlie Kirk.
That is insane.
Was what our AOG put out to the press when that wasn't true. The Third Amendment or the third motion to give Charlie Kirk an award passed 9-4. 9-4. But this, is, I think, I don't know. I've been asked now on every podcast because I'm trying to use this to educate people. Why did the Air Force Academy put out false information? And I said, you'll have to ask them. But my suspicion is there was a lot of pressure coming from our AOG is kind of joined in one with the foundation. So we have donors on one side who have their own board, and we have our board whose fiduciary responsibility tells me anyway that we should be trying to foster a professional dialogue. But on the other hand, there was certainly a lot of pressure put on by donors to, hey, make this issue go away. Okay. So probably the same thing happened in your case, what you were telling us earlier, Matthew, about those people that approached your soup.
But we can't discuss that anymore on this open forum. That was kind of the approach we're taking, but offline we can. That's kind of where we are, but we're running to the end of the formal portion of this. We have several questions, but let's see here. I want to wrap it up with from an Army Master Sergeant. For those of you who don't know, when MacArthur Society broke the story about West Point removing duty honor country from the mission statement, we were very surprised and pleased to get support from someone in the Marine Corps. They reached out to us and said, this is wrong. And so it made a big impact. So similarly, General Bishop, and then we'll go to more on a formal portion. And if you can stay longer, as I pass it over to Colonel Sam Thiessen here. Jack Collins, retired Master Sergeant who served 2 tours at West Point, asks, for those of us who are not graduates of the respective academies, how would it be helpful for us to write letters to the BOV with our point of views, sir?
Yeah, I think it'd be very helpful. And you know, as my candidate statement says, I will work tirelessly to ensure all graduates' views are heard. Um, so, you know, if you have a different point of view, I'd say send it in. What I'm trying to do is the professional dialogue. And just to finish the thought, I realized I didn't finish the thought on that. This article about the Academy Board withdrawing, in that there's a professor, Academy grad, who's quoted as Charlie Kirk wasn't qualified to be on the Board of Visitors. On the other side, Trump calls for a probe into Academy Chapel. Who is responsible for that probe?
There you go. Well, listen, Matt, I want to personally thank General Bishop and Ron, and also the close association we have now between the MacArthur Society, STARS, and the Calvert Group at Annapolis. But we'd love to have you come back on sometime, maybe after the first of the year, and update us. So with that, Matt, I guess we can have you stay on if you want to, Rod. That would be great. We're going to pass it to, I guess, Sam Thiessen now. We'll head up and manage the remaining agenda.
Sure, that's right. Matt, before you leave, thanks, General. Before you leave, give us your pitch on fundraising and donations.
Thank you, Sam. In addition to being on the board of directors at MacArthur Society, I'm the vice president for donor relations. Similar to STARS, kind of our big brother, if you will. I don't mind saying that. And I'm big fans of General Bishop and Ron Scott, aka Moses, his call sign. Well earned, I think, even early in his life. I will say that Ron Scott is a badass. He is. And we do a lot of great work. We're the ones that wrote the story that went viral about removal of duty on our country. We're the ones, with the help of some very engaged parents, who brought the issue of West Point removing the West Point crest from the Cadet Chapel Pew Bible. So you know who you are out there. Thank you. We're the ones that made the call behind the scenes when June of last year, we know what June is for some people, you know, the calendar year, West Point was selling Army football pride gear, pride apparel. Now imagine that. Army colors are black, gray, and gold, which for those of you who most of you know, those are the colors of the components of gunpowder, black, gray, and gold, right? And then they were selling pride gear. So we brought that to light, the MacArthur Society. There's so much work that we're doing. And 90% of what we do is volunteer. The people who attended the board meetings, and God bless you all, we thank you for making that investment. A lot of you are here. We had 13 at the last Board of Visitors meeting at West Point, yet there are a lot of things we need to do that support making this a very successful, impactful organization, not just for West Point, but partnering with STARS and the Calvert Task Group for all of the service academies and the services. But it takes support from donors. We certainly am preaching to the choir. You're here, you're engaged. Thank you. It's those end of year donations, which are coming up very soon. Please consider the MacArthur Society. It is tax deductible. So if you're looking for a worthy tax deductible organization that serves the U.S. Constitution, West Point, is so much that is right. The right culture, the American virtues. Hey, MacArthurSociety.org. Thank you so much. Thank you, Sam. I'll give it to you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Mike Rose, you had a question. You had your hand up. If you have anything to follow on regarding our last topic, go ahead.
I just wanted to point out another factor in reaching beyond our echo chamber. I think it's a great development that these 5 newly elected members of the Air Force Academy Appreciation and Graduates Board of Directors, spearheaded by General Bishop, are inside the camel's tent, making these motions, getting a second, debating it. And what they've drawn with the Charlie Kirk motions is the leftist side of the woodwork. I mean, they have come to the fore, identified themselves, the heads of the affinity groups for blacks and women opposing Charlie Kirk, and now they're being forced to engage on the merits. And we've seen the head of one of these affinity groups, for example, explain as a black man how offended he was by racist remarks by Charlie Kirk. So then I say, well, send me those remarks. I'd like to see them myself. And when I see him, I said, well, what about these other words? You took it out of context. He denies it here. So then the guy gets flipped out, very angry because I'm denying how he feels, he said. And I'd say, well, I'm not denying how you feel. I'm just denying whether it's reality or not, or whether it's objective reality or reasonable. And now he's gone radio silent. So I'm saying getting inside the camel's tent and actually being able to legally make motions and second them and then have to debate them, and now it's being recorded, and now it's going to be in the minutes what their views are. You should see how flipped out the incumbent members of the board of directors are. We don't want recordings. We don't want our views stated in the minutes. Well, right here, the bylaws say when a motion is made that your perspectives have to be put in the minutes. They never did roll call voting. Now they're doing roll call voting. All this is happening solely because these 5 new people came in unified under General Bishop's leadership and started using legal mechanisms to force debate, to out viewpoints, and to have the will of the majority imposed. And here's the last thing I would say, for example. Now imagine when they get word that Charlie Kirk, the motion about Charlie Kirk's going to become for debate. So the leftist affinity groups, which in my opinion shouldn't be there in the first place, but they're there. There are people come out of the woodwork opposing. And the chair, we think, of the board is one of them. So what General Bishop actually got passed by a 9-5 vote, or 9-3, 2 vote, I think, is that graduates are going to be polled now about their views of Charlie Kirk for the next meeting in February to be decided how to recognize him. That means all graduates. We should send out to 40 or 50,000 graduates of the Air Force Academy to solicit their views.
Right.
We think that Charlie Kirk would be an honor will win like 4-1. So if you want to, bottom line, I'll stop talking. If you want to stop talking to the echo chamber, we got to get into groups that aren't just the echo chamber and force debate.
Yeah, Mike, thank you very much for that, because it's a great segue into our next presenter here, who popped up in the left corner of my screen, upper left, our VP for legal matters and also the Chief of Staff of the MacArthur Society, Bill Flesher, class of 74, who is attempting to do what for us, help us guide the MacArthur Society, and Bill to do what Mike is talking about, and General Bishop we're talking about with the STARS and the USAFA AOG. Go ahead, Bill.
Okay, so here's our deal. They need 25 signatures, 25 for the Air Force Academy Association of Graduates to get a petition filed. Currently, we need 1,000 signatures to get a petition filed. And in this election, since I attempted to get folks on the ballot and get 1,000 signatures, they now want to raise it to 2,700 signatures for a petition. Do you think our academy is afraid of change and afraid of a new breath of fresh air? Damn right they are. So I need every grad who's on here to contact every classmate, every friend they have that believes, to quote General Bishop, we should have a fostering of fellowship and a fostering of professional dialogue. We should have more transparency and give grads a voice. And the only way we can do this is to get our foot in the door. Now, I didn't succeed this year, but they already are trying to change the rules to make it even harder to do next year. I am personally going up to the board of directors, to the annual meeting at West Point. I will guarantee you in 51 years of being a grad, I've never even thought of it. I'm going this year. I need everybody's proxy. William A. Fletcher Jr., class of 1974. Give it to me. We're voting no on both amendments. We're voting present or no confidence on the ballot. There's no write-ins. There's no opportunity to challenge any of this stuff. But like Mike Rose said, we're going to get this all on the record. We're going to make people commit, General Bishop. We're going to have everybody vote the way they need to, but they're going to do it on the record. I'm going to make them. I'm not number one on the hit list yet, but after November 18th, I guarantee you I'll be in the top 2. I don't know who the other guy might be.
General Bishop, you have your hand up. Do you have?
Yeah, Bill, go get them. 74 forevermore.
Yes, sir.
What the board did vote this past meeting, just to update your stats there. We now require 100.
Okay, yeah, I could get 100.
100 is pretty easy. 1,000 stuff. 1,000 stuff.
2,700, sir. 2,700. They want to make it.
Crazy.
Incredible. Mike, you have your hand up.
Yeah, Mike.
All right, we got over 2,500 signatures in order to put our amendments on the ballot to pass by 76%. I'm going to float the idea here on how you can do that at West Point. Now, we have a 2010 Air Force Academy graduate who's got over 1 million followers on one of her social media accounts and has thousands of Air Force Academy graduates on a different social media account, and has been hired by Walmart and Disney and other similar companies to do their social media. And now she's going to work with STARS. And she actually went to work for our AOG for 60 days and then resigned, not liking what was there. The point is, she now says, she can reach out to the other 30, 40,000 graduates and use her methodology to build contacts and get our message out to Air Force Academy graduates. Well, she can do the same thing for West Point graduates.
We'd like that, Mike. Really
yes,
like
please.
That.
Helping the MacArthur Society build more and more of your graduates following her methodology to her website, collecting their information and getting them to sign your petitions. I'm just planting that seed if you want to follow up.
Excellent.
Be great. We will.
Thank you, Mike.
Bill Fletcher, do you have any? Well, I've got Eric Bance from class 72 has got his hand up. So Eric,
Sure.
if you want to unmute your mic, you can weigh in if you're there. Can't see you. Bill, do you have anything else right now, Bill?
No, I think that's it for where we're at. We did put up 5 people for the board of directors and 5 also for the board of advisors. This is a long game plan, so we're not distressed by not overcoming all the hurdles this year. There were lots of hidden hurdles. They weren't published until we tried to do something, and then they'd say, no, you couldn't do it because of this. And they'd send me an operating rule that it's not attached, it wasn't published anywhere. So we eliminated a bunch of hurdles, and they just threw this last amendment in. We were going to start in December collecting signatures anyway, wait for the election to occur, and then re-put our ballot forward and start collecting signatures. So we are going to start again in December, whether the requirement's 1,000 or 2,700. We're not quitting. We're going to make these not nice people pay for this.
Yeah.
And ultimately, over the course of the next 7 or 8 years, we will get to where the Air Force Academy is. These guys have messed with the wrong person. I'm not going to quit.
This is kind of a walkthrough then, a rehearsal.
Yes.
And so we're ready to go. Ron, you've got your hand up, please.
Well, Eric had his up before mine, Sam. I'll defer to Eric.
Well, yeah, Eric has been called on.
He has? Okay.
It looks like he's in his car.
All right.
Go ahead, Ron.
I just wanted to alert, is Vicki Manning still on the call? She just published an article on Restoration News platform, and we brought this up. General Bishop brought this up. The title is Former Air Force Academy Professor Equates TPUSA with the KKK. And the subtitle, Martin France claims to be part of Antifa and uses his rank and uniform for political activism against Christians and conservatives. Now, there was another article published earlier today by Bill Conner. He's one of our advisors. He's an attorney and a former Citadel infantry combat experience, an attorney now in South Carolina, a good friend of Mike Rose's, published an article, Real Clear Defense today, same topic. And so we're starting to pull out the guns. We've been pretty averse to taking some of this on directly, but we've got some platforms that are willing to do that. And so we're leveraging that. And so I think more and more people are going to realize that there are some true extremists within the ranks, and they're well left of center.
Yeah, this guy France seems to be on par with Ty Sedgwill, former head of the I think the law department or history department. Mike, you have your hand up.
Well, two quick things. This Bill Connors that Ron just referenced, who is on the Citadel Board of Visitors, grandfather was in the class of 36 at West Point, and a Rhodes Scholar and the vice president of his class. Now, that's the class where the head of the Tuskegee Airmen was silenced. And he told me that on his deathbed, when he was near death, he said we were wrong to have done that. Now, the second thing I want to say with regard to what Bill said, the way we need to think of this, we make progress bit by bit, but it's our slow march through the institutions.
There you go.
Thanks,
That's
Mike.
right. And by the way, Mike's a lawyer, Bill's a lawyer. We've got another famous lawyer on here, famous to us anyway, Larry Purdy. And Larry Mike knows Larry pretty well, I think. And he's involved with the Calvert Group. So Larry, if you have anything you have to say, just raise your hand. And if not, I'll move on to
Well, let me just say hi to Dr. Martha. Hi, Dr. Martha. I enjoyed chatting with you the other day.
there you go. Moving on. Normally, I would give a short presentation on what's going on with STARS, but you've got the crew here from STARS: General Bishop, General Arbuckle, Ron, Mike. There's also a couple other guys besides Martha, who is one of the on the board of advisors. We got Chris Walker as well on the board of advisors. Actually, Martha's on the board of directors for STARS. But we have John Brockman, also a VP for the President's Group, and Steve Wallingford, who is a VP for administration. So we've got STARS has great representation on today's call. And I wanted to mention we also have a past president of the MacArthur Society on, and I don't want to outshine General Valley, which is impossible, but we've got Bill Prince on, who likes to hide in the bushes now that he's semi-retired. But I just want to put you on the spot a little bit, Bill, let you to say hi to everybody.
Probably muted.
He's probably muted, but
Sam, one of the things I wanted to mention, though, is we just added Brigadier General Ernie Odino to our board of directors.
That was going to be the last thing I was going to go over.
Sorry.
The entire board
I
of
didn't mean
directors.
to preempt you.
Yeah, I want to mention Dave Bell, class of 71, who is also on our board of advisors. Mike Edelson, you're 79. What do you have?
Hey, I just wanted to make a pitch really quickly. I've been on a committee of the board of AOG for 14 years now, the investment committee, and I just wrote what might be considered a sizable check to AOG yesterday. And I wanted to stress the importance of financial support for the MacArthur Society, because it's insurance for your investment in West Point. And every time I give money to West Point, I'm thinking, am I sure this is going to go right?
Yeah.
Am I sure this isn't going to get twisted around in some weird way for some weird preference? And so every time I think that, I go to the donor advised fund or pull out the checkbook and send some money to MacArthur Society. So I just want to stress the importance of that.
Thank you.
And help our friends here buy more sheepdogs. Thank you.
That is
Mike.
wonderful.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Thank you, Mike.
Let me go down the General Valley. Let me go down the list of our board members. We have 9 members on a board of directors, starting with General Valley. Well, technically you're not on. You're the president. We have General McInerney. We have Dick Klein, class of 67, and he's on this call as well, along with his classmate Mike Alverson, he's not on the board of directors, but he's on the board of advisors. We have Tony Lantini. He's not here today because he's on a trip overseas. We have my classmate Charlie Rash, myself. Scott Shires is on here. You've met Bill Fletcher, 74, and Matt Nugent, who had to drop off. But our newest member is Ernie Audino, a retired brigadier general. I believe he's class of 82, and he is a former legislative assistant to Mike Waltz, who is now the UN, the advisor to or the ambassador to the UN. And General, I'm going to turn it back to you. That's really all I have, unless somebody else has another issue to bring up.
Okay. Scott Shires is our treasurer. Scott, do you want to update us on anything in the Treasury that's meaningful to us? I guess he's on mute.
Yeah, I don't know if Scott's on anymore.
Well, that's okay. Anyhow, we're gonna probably have our next meeting in sometime in November, and we're hoping to get Congressman Wesley Hunt. We're engaged with his office now for like the third week in November. I thought we'd take off December, enjoy the holidays, and reconvene in January if that's okay with everybody. But we're a very open society. We love your comments, remarks. I want to thank Dick Klein for his initiative, head of one of our teams that has been engaging the AOG and trying to tell them we're not enemies. We want cooperation, association, but we want our graduates to be involved rather than just asking the graduates all the time for money, but not listening to the grads in any kind of a forum. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. Any closing comments from anybody?
We have John Brockman, who has his hand up. He's the VP for the President's Group for STARS. Go ahead, John.
I just want to let you guys know, I've known Rod for over 50 years, and there is no more dedicated or professional man that I've ever met. And he made it a point and a priority to be here today.
Yeah.
And you think, well, that's no big deal. Well, he's facing a major surgery tomorrow, and he's still going to do a podcast later today. So he wanted to be here to talk to you guys. So if you would indulge me for a moment, I would like to say a prayer for him.
Thank you, man. Go ahead, please.
So, dear Heavenly Father, we pray for our friend Rod, who will undergo surgery tomorrow. Please guide the hands of the medical professionals. Grant them wisdom and skill. May the surgery be successful and without complications. Please give him comfort and strength during this time and ease his anxiety. Fill them with your peace. Grant him a speedy recovery and a return to health. Thank you for your healing power and love. We also want to lift up our good friend Mookie and his precious mom. She is currently in hospice, and she's ready to meet her Savior. We lift up these prayers to our precious Savior, Jesus. In his name we pray. Amen.
Thank you, John. Thank you very much, John. Okay, Sam, I guess that wraps it up unless there's any
No,
other
sir.
comments.
We have one more important item here.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And that's in spite of the fact that I flew F4s. I have over 1,000 hours in the F4, directly commissioned in the Air Force. Tomorrow, Army's going to beat Air Force.
Wait a second.
Could be a great game.
Well,
Army.
day after tomorrow.
Day after tomorrow.
Saturday, whatever.
Air Force will beat Army.
Well, if Army get his offense going, they have a good defense, so we'll see what happens, Mookie.
Yeah, they shocked Michigan State or Missouri State or Kansas State. That was a
Kansas
shocker.
State,
Yeah.
We got killed in a blizzard out there in Colorado Springs in 1985.
Uh-huh.
But we flew 2 F4s over the lunch formation. It was.
Gentlemen, I don't apologize for what Navy did earlier to Air Force. I'm sorry.
Navy's got a great team, no doubt about it.
They do. Yeah.
Yep, they do.
Go
Well,
Army.
thank you, everybody, and wish you all well. And we'll reconvene next month sometime. We'll let you know. And thank you, Cindy, for all that you do for the societies, both STARS and the MacArthur Society, and also Laura Perry, who's just been very instrumental in working with us and handling a lot of things as far as our secretary. So thank you again. Reconvene in November.
Great meeting.
Army, go Navy, go Air Force. How about that?
There you go.
Thank you, General Valley.
Thanks, sir.
Okay. Bye-bye, everybody.